TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. I'm Ayan Hassan, and this is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. The United States is reportedly pressuring Israel to begin the second phase of President Trump's 20-point plan. Turkey asserts that disarming Hamas in the next phase is unrealistic. The U.S. House of Representatives unconditionally repeals the Caesar Act, removing multiple sanctions against Syria. Israel has come under mounting American pressure to agree to begin the second phase of President Trump's 20-point plan for the Gaza Strip, despite the fact that the deceased hostage, Ran Guili, who is the last remaining Israeli in Gaza, has yet to be returned to Israel. According to a report that was published on Israel Hayom Daily, Trump administration officials do not want to force Israel to accept the request and want to receive Netanyahu's consent. Nevertheless, the Prime Minister's office spokeswoman stressed earlier this week that Netanyahu was explicit in his position, as part of which, once Phase 1 is completed, Phase 2 will begin.
He said we are almost finished with Phase 1 of the ceasefire plan, which has been a goal the Prime Minister said at the beginning of the war, to get back all of our hostages. And right now, we have one hostage left in captivity, which we know Hamas can find. Master Sergeant Ran Guili is still being held in Gaza, and he must be brought home for a proper, dignified burial. Prime Minister Netanyahu is frequently in touch with his family and is determined to help them close this horrific, this painful 2-year circle they have been forced into. The Prime Minister said that once Phase 1 is completed, Phase 2 will begin, which he noted comes with equal difficulty.
The Prime Minister's spokeswoman emphasized the complexity of moving into Phase 2. Despite Hamas's stated commitment to President Trump's 20-point plan, a pledge that was made by the Islamist organization roughly 2 months ago, when it was on the brink of annihilation amid the IDF's maneuver into Gaza City.
Phase 2 will disarm Hamas and demilitarize Gaza, a crucial step outlined in the 20-point plan that Israel remains committed to. The Prime Minister has made it very, very clear. This phase of the plan can happen either the easy way or it can happen the hard way. But there will be an end to Hamas's rule inside of the Gaza Strip and a different future for the Palestinian people and the future of security for the State of Israel as well. Israel will continue to uphold our side of the ceasefire as Hamas continues to violate it on a daily basis. A ceasefire has been in place for 2 months now, but terrorists continue to attack our soldiers and cross the yellow line into the IDF-controlled area inside of the Gaza Strip. Israel will continue to act in self-defense against these terrorists.
To ensure close coordination ahead of the expected transition into Phase 2, alongside challenges emerging from Israel's northern front, including Lebanon and Syria, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is scheduled to travel to the United States later this month.
I can share with you that the Prime Minister will meet with President Trump on Monday, December 29th. They will discuss the future steps and phases and the international stabilization force of the ceasefire plan.
It is important to point out that Qatar and Turkey, which committed to President Donald Trump that they would be able to convince Hamas to disarm and relinquish its power over the Gaza Strip, are effectively backpedaling, insinuating that the disarmament of the Islamist Palestinian terror group is unrealistic.
When we first start talking about just only disarming Hamas at the first phase, it may not be a realistic and doable objective. Just a start. We first need to implement certain concrete steps.
Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan insists that a Palestinian police force must be established before the Hamas disarmament can take place. According to him, such a force should receive training and weapons from the International Stabilization Force, or the ISF, which, according to him, should not necessarily engage in the Gaza Strip to forcibly disarm Hamas. Ankara is echoing Egyptian and Qatari remarks, according to which the ISF should have a peacekeeping mandate.
So the internal security of the Gaza should be taken care of the police force that should be created by peace board, and the ISF can only help them in training, sometimes maybe in equipment.
It is important to note that Turkey is the only country to have voiced interest in deploying national forces to the Gaza Strip as part of the so-called ISF. However, Israel is vehemently refusing Turkey's involvement, citing its close ties with Hamas. Nevertheless, Minister Fidan informed that Ankara is engaged in talks with Washington to pressure Jerusalem into accepting its involvement.
Well, at the moment, that is still being discussed because the formation of international stabilization force is a matter of big coordination and discussions. First of all, you need to find voluntary countries who can actually send troops in certain numbers. So we need to have a significant number of troops from some countries. So I think that process is still is going on, and the Americans also putting pressure on Israelis on about us, about Turkey. So we have already stated that we are ready to make every kind of contributions, including sending troops for ISF.
Despite the fact that Turkey and Qatar were the countries that had committed to rein in the Islamist Hamas in what may be construed as a manipulative method, Ankara's top diplomat warned that failure to guarantee the success of President Trump's 20-point plan would be regarded as an American failure.
So if, as international community, we fail in implementing the second phase of the peace plan, in bringing really order and peace to Gaza, it will be a huge failure on the part of international system, on the part of United States, and because President Trump has actually led this Gaza peace plan.
Earlier, speaking at the Doha conference, Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani asserted, from Qatar's perspective, Phase 2 requires a full Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip, despite the fact that such a demand was not agreed upon in the U.S. peace accord.
Now, we are at a critical moment. It's not yet there. So it's what we have just done is a pause. We cannot consider it yet a ceasefire. A ceasefire cannot be completed unless there is a full withdrawal of the Israeli forces, there is stability back in Gaza, people can go in and out, which is not the case today.
The Qatari Prime Minister is seemingly trying to pressure the United States to alter the terms of the ceasefire, which has already been adopted by the UN Security Council as part of Resolution 2803. He now claims that for the US-led plan to prevail, the terms need to be, quote, fair. Moreover, Prime Minister Al Thani asserted that just resolving what happened in Gaza is not enough, and that Turkey, Qatar, Egypt, and the United States need to work together to force Israel into a two-state solution.
Right now, us as Qatar, Turkey, Egypt, together with the United States, we are getting together in order to force the way forward for the next phase. And this next phase is just also temporary from our perspective, because at the end of the day, if we are looking at, if we are just resolving what happened in Gaza, the catastrophe that happened in the last 2 years, it's not enough, because there is a root for this conflict, and this conflict is not only about Gaza, it's about the West Bank, it's about the rights of the Palestinians for their state.
Meanwhile, in Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump was asked when he intends to announce the makeup of the so-called Board of Peace, which is tasked with monitoring the governance in the Gaza Strip following the removal of Hamas.
Well, we'll do it early next year, and the Board of Peace are going to, it'll be one of the most legendary boards ever. Everybody wants to be on it. It's mostly going to be, I guess, you know, we weren't thinking about it that way, but they want to all do it. Basically, it'll be the heads of the most important countries.
Mr. President.
They all want to be on. It wasn't really planned. We thought we were going to get very distinguished people that do that kind of thing for a living. But really, it looks like it's turning out to be they want to be on, the heads, the kings, and the presidents, prime ministers, they all want to be on the board of peace.
In other news, the U.S. House of Representatives has adopted the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, removing the Caesar Act, which includes eliminating multiple sanctions against Syria.
As many know, we are repealing sanctions on Syria that were placed there because of Bashar al-Assad and his torture of his people. And we're giving Syria a chance to chart a post-Assad future. We do that while also holding the new government accountable for its actions and giving the White House the flexibility that the White House needs to reimpose sanctions if the president views it necessary to do so.
It is important to note that the remark on the NDAA granting the White House the flexibility it needs to impose sanctions is overstated. According to the Act, the administration is required to submit a report every 180 days for 4 years, certifying Syria's progress on 6 benchmarks, including combating terrorism, removing foreign fighters from government roles, upholding minority rights, fighting drug trafficking, and pursuing peaceful relations with its neighbors, to include Israel. If reports are negative, the president may consider targeted new sanctions on individuals. Nevertheless, it would entail a discretionary measure rather than trigger a full Caesar reinstatement. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I'd like to encourage you to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Ayan Hessen, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom. Until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.